And with that, let's welcome to the show, Toni Jones. Hello.
Hi. Hi, Danny. How are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic. And I'm so honored to
Good.
have you on here. You're my fanciest guest to date.
Oh my
And
goodness.
everyone's going to absolutely fall in love with you the same way I did. I start most of the episodes the same way, asking one powerful question, which is, what does manifesting?
What does manifesting mean to me? Okay, as of right now, what manifesting means to me is being the vibration of the desire. It's the
Yes.
it's the energetic embodiment of the desire. It's not the way that I was introduced to manifestation was wishful type of approach, but now it's about being the energetic embodiment of the desire that you wish to bring forth into this reality. So that's what manifesting is to me.
I love that. And because you opened the door, I got to walk through it. So, how were you introduced to manifesting? Because I know a lot of people come to that hopeful, wishy kind of
Mhm.
definition of manifesting through things like The Secret. How were you introduced to manifesting?
Well, that's what it was. It was
Wow.
literally that documentary called The Secret. And I was just like, these concepts resonate so much. But in as much as I guess enlightening the documentary, was, it for me, it just was just an introduction. It didn't give me a curriculum on how to actually go about adopting and translating these ideas and concepts into practice. It was just like I just got excited and developed this zeal about knowing that there was another way to, this game of life.
Yes, I love that. So it was like an introduction. And what was it that brought you from that little taste that it gave you into understanding, like, oh, this is all vibes and I got to match it so I can get
I mean, life, right?
it? All right.
Shoot, life just, my great grandmother used to say, you keep living, you're going to keep learning, And so I think that's what like brought me to the understanding, and my understanding is continuously expanding and growing, but essentially it was life that taught me how to like go from the zeal to the understanding to the embodiment.
I love this. And I gotta say, like, I'm low-key fangirling right now because as you were talking,
Oh.
I felt like I had a beat in my head and it was just like, is this the next song? What's going on?
Oh my
You have this
goodness.
cadence to how you speak, and I'm digging it. Okay.
Thank you.
So, okay, you started your manifestation journey with The Secret, but tell us about your general life flow. You do this beautiful affirmation music. Everyone loves it. We're getting our entire life, and we see you as the embodiment of that person who's helping us with that. What helped you with your journey? Where did you start? And like, even not just manifesting, but spirituality at large.
What helped me with my journey, I would have to say just being honest with myself, just being authentic with myself, like not lying to myself. Like once I'm aware, it's like there's no outwitting that
Mm,
truth of what I am aware of. That is what's helped me throughout my journey. It's scary. It's scary to watch people who think they're so aware of themselves. And because the thing about it is is what actually helps you reflect you back to you.
very,
And
very
I've
true.
watched people who don't allow that to happen, and I get scared of that. Meaning
Mm,
like I don't, because it's like there's this private, silent, like how can you say stronghold? It's this private, silent stronghold that keeps them in the dark of themselves. And I'm
mm.
like, so for me, I've always felt this conviction when I witness that in people, you know, in relationships or with people. I'm just like, it's not even about taking the opportunity to judge them or show them. It's like, oh my God, I could be like that too. I wonder what
Mm.
bullshit I'm believing that's keeping me from seeing myself. because I don't want to be conscious and think I know about myself and know all this knowledge and understanding, but still allowing the stronghold of self-deception keep me from seeing myself, you know, because when you grow and expand, there's clues to your growth. There's clues to expansion, you know, and when I'm not experiencing those clues, I'm always able to be like, okay, God, show me. Cause I feel like I'm here. I feel like I'm very aware. I feel like I know a lot, but God still show me. Like, I'm humble enough to know that there could be some blind spots. Don't leave me to myself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that's what's helped me along my journey, is that the authenticity with my divine self, and to know that there is an all-seeing divine eye that sees all more than I see, you know, with my own intellect or ego and consciousness. You know, I would have to say that has been a core catalyst to my journey.
I love that. It feels like, you know, show me. Okay, here's a new layer. It feels like every time you would ask that question, you will always be shown something. There's never going to be a Pandora
box. It's a Pandora box.
There'll never be a time where you don't see or aren't revealed a new layer. And it's scary and beautiful too. Yeah, like, I'm ready to see it. Show me. Here we go. And no matter what, we have to go through it and live to it. Or we just stay on the same loop, running the same over and over.
For sure.
So you sound very with it, very conscious, very spiritual. Tell us about your journey to that. Like, take us back to young Toni, old Toni, before this capacity Toni. And let us know what brought you from there to here.
The old Toni, the young Toni. Let's see. I was a church girl. You know, I was on fire for the Lord. You know, I was trying to save souls for the Christian army. And it was very much a passion. I loved it. It wasn't because I felt like I have to do this to be a great Christian or because there's a hell. It was like I loved like sharing the gospel with other people because of how it made me feel. So it was like, I want other people to feel this type of liberation and excitement about their soul as much as I am, you know? So it was like, I felt like I had to share, you know? And so, I don't know, it was like these points in my life where it was just these questions, which I call sacred inquiry, where you where it's something that happens to where you start to just be curious about how much is true and how much is not true. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that led to awakening of sorts. And that just led me on this path of seeking. You know, one of the things that I pride myself on is seeking. Like, I'm not someone that's just gonna sit and be like, okay, this is the way it's gonna be. And no, I have a seeker's heart, you know? And so for me, that has led me from going from one level to another level, awakening to another awakening, character, building upon character, mindset, evolving my mindset, emotional intelligence to another level, emotional intelligence. The vastness of my capacity to hold space for growth it's impressive to me because I don't know where I got it from. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, how did I not get stuck in my ways? Yeah. Like, how did I continue to grow in this way? But I would say that my foundation was, you know, I don't shame it because it's the foundation of my moral compass, if you will, you know? And so for me, it was a matter of my journey just being curious and wanting to grow, you know, and it got me to a point of just opening my mind to learn, to read, to seek out, and to search. But, you know, essentially it started with the church. It started with the church for sure.
Yeah. I really love that you say you don't shame it, you don't condemn it, because I see so many women who are on a more new thought, new conscious, new paradigm type of thinking and spirituality are operating, and they look back at their time in the church as like, oh, I can't believe I spent so much time believing that, or like, oh my gosh, I had the wool over my eyes. And it sometimes makes me sad because I didn't grow up in the church, so I don't have that connection or any unlearning to do. But it kind of sometimes makes me sad. Like, that's a part of your story. So, and that's a part of your building block. So I'm glad that you embrace it as like, this is where it started. It started from over here. And now, I've leveled up in multiple ways. I love it. So in your bio, we mentioned that you started as a life coach and a mental health expert or advocate. And now you're doing this affirmation music. Sidebar, you were saving souls as a kid for, God's army, but now you're saving souls in a whole new musical way. Like,
I know I
thing.
see the continuity.
Yes. Yeah. So you're living your purpose from then to now. But I want to know about your transition from doing the mental health advocacy to the music. Like, I know we have a lot of creatives who listen to this podcast and are probably like, oh my gosh, I want to do that too. I want to live in my creative / spiritual truth. How can I?
Yeah.
I would love to hear your story.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I don't know, I was so dramatic and I still am dramatic. I've accepted that. But I remember in 2012, and the school that I was about to go back to school to get my bachelor's degree in psychology. And when they told me how many years that it was going to take for me to graduate, I think it was like 2.5 years. I was just, because I had all my credits transfer and because I had been out of school for years. And so when they told me I had 2.5 years, I'm like, why didn't I do 2.5 years ago? Why didn't I do it 5 years ago? Why didn't I do it 8 years ago? What have I been doing for 10 years? And I looked at my life and I was like, man, for 10 years, I have just only been working on trying to make a relationship with men work. And when I saw that, I was like, and I didn't have nothing to show for it. Like, I was just like, dang, I'm empty in every way. Like, none of all of that didn't even matter. None of those guys. It was just like, and I just realized, what would it look like if I used all that energy with those men? What if I used it towards my life? And so I went back to school to get my degree in psychology. Psychology put me on game on like how my behavior, how my patterns, how my life experiences are impacted by my childhood, my mindset, my thought pathology, and so on. And so I knew then that I wanted to start a company that helped women understand their psychology and how that can help them heal from workaholism. And so for 5 to 6.5 years, I built this wellness business during the boss bitch era, where it's all about being bossy and making money. And I'm talking about self-care and self-love and mental health. So it was very challenging. It was deeply challenging for me because this wasn't part of the culture yet. This was not in our social media timelines. So self-care and self-love was something on the back burner. That was something you got to like on a vacation or something. And so I was ultimately, helping, young people in high schools understand their mindset. I was taking on coaching clients to help them with their psychology and mental health. And I was doing events and I created so much online programming. I used to have a program and an ebook called Mindset Styling, to help people like actually style their mindset, kind of like a parallel of fashion styling. And so I ended up in 2018, fast forward to 2018, I just kind of got burnt. And I won't even say burnt out. I was just tired. I just felt like, I was just kind of like, yeah, this is not hitting the way that I would want it to hit financially, emotionally, spiritually. My clients are really depending on me to do their emotional labor work and their internal work. So I was like, I don't, and I was still like, trying to recover from people pleasing, and I needed to do some more work to recover from that. So that people pleasing spilled over into my client, relationship. Yes. And so I just got on my knees and I prayed. I'm like, God, you got to give me something to create, to help women understand that they can practice well-being and healing, and integrate it into their their high active lifestyle. And that's when I never forget when I got the download, it was affirmation music. And so when I got that download, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. So then I Googled it and no one had coined that phrase. So I was like, oh my God, I get to do this, you know? And so I started to like listen to other artists that were kind of doing something similar. And I'm just like, this is not bopping the way that I wanted to bop. It wasn't hitting it. I mean, there were positive, powerful words, but it just, the production wasn't there. Sonically, it wasn't there. Lyrics, it just wasn't poetic enough. It didn't feel authentic. It felt performative. And so I was just like, I'm going to do this. You know, so I ended up going to California and taking all my journals, all my writings, the things that I wrote down from the retreats and spiritual programs that I've taken over the years. I took all those writings and I went to California for a month and wrote Affirmations for the Grown-Ass Woman. And I wrote 9 songs to represent the 9 months it takes for a woman to create a human being, because I wanted women to push play on this album to be able to grow and develop the woman of their dreams inside out. And so after a month being in California, wrote the album, came back to Michigan, applied for a loan, and I got in the studio. And that was when it was like, oh, this is something like, but essentially, I mean, my intentions was to create this for my clients. It wasn't to actually become a musician.
Oh, wow.
And so that journey was a whole nother journey.
So, I'm listening. Come on, tell us.
Okay. So yeah, in 2019, you know, as soon as I released Affirmations for the Grown-Ass Woman during Women's History Month, all hell broke loose. Everything that I considered normal, like I say in one of my albums, like, you know, my pandemic was internal first.
Yes.
My 2020 what happened in 2019. So, even people close to me were like saying, Toni, you experienced the pandemic before everybody else did. I was like, I know. I was like, it's ironic. And so I was at home. I didn't have nothing to do. Like my job, I was on leave. Like I ended up being in the hospital because I was on suicide watch. It was just a lot that happened. Oh yeah, it was deep. I mean, I'm leaving out a lot of juicy details, but these
I
are
wish you wouldn't.
Like,
inquiring minds want to know.
But I mean, it was just to just give you,
heavy.
I'm still giving details. It was heavy. It was a lot that went down. And so I ended up having to get rid of 80% of my belongings, get rid of my home. And I moved back with family. Like for 3.5 months, the end of 2019, I was like sleeping in my parents' bed because I was just I was like really shocked mentally and internally and spiritually from the acceleration of awareness that happened. I saw so much about myself. I saw so much about the world. I saw so much about the life I created and the friends that I have trauma bonded with. And it was just so much. That's where I See Me Mantras came from, the album I See Me Mantras. And so, I had to ask myself, the divine asked me actually, who would you be if there was no money? What would you do if all world problems were solved? Where would your value lie then in your life? And so I had to rediscover who I am if I was my only client, if I was the world to save, And I had to literally crawl to realize my identity outside of the identity I've built for 30 something years, And so, for a while, just eating fruit or brushing my teeth or taking my shower was my purpose. It was like I had to crawl back into living my life from a place that satisfied me first. And so, so that's when I'll say in October 2020 on World Mental Health Day was when I closed my coaching business down and said I was going to go into full-time music. So 2021 was my first full year as a musician. And so the rest is history.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. And I don't know if you've noticed, you've always been ahead of the curve. So when you were back in the church, you were trying to save souls, pulling in a new paradigm for yourself and others. Then with school, you were ahead of the curve, looking back at the potential, I don't know if failure is a good word to use, but the relationships that you focused on. You were still ahead of the paradigm, pulling in this new world for yourself and then for your clients. And then as a coach, pulling in this new paradigm again for yourself and for your clients. Hopping into the music, I know you said it was for your clients, but ultimately it was for your growth and your like next level up. You're just going up this damn stair step. I don't know if you recognize it, like looking back at your growth and at your history pattern, but it's like you've always been a step ahead. And then even what you expressed as the awakening, when you were shown so much so quickly, I've heard that from so many people who ask to be shown, like, you know, maybe they've hit some type of rock bottom and they're like, okay, God, just show me all the truth. I'm ready for it. No one's ready for it. We're never ready for it. It's ugly, it's dark, it's scary, it's crazy. It's like, oh my God, I fucked up everything. And you feel like it's just mess. But that's still you being a step ahead, because there's so many people who are still like this, not even ready to, oh, sorry, for everyone listening, I covered my eyes, sorry, who are covering their eyes and plugging their ears and not really wanting to see. So like, kudos to you for even being open to that. I don't know if you feel like you're normal, but that's not normal shit. And for everyone listening, if you're in a space where you feel like, yes, I'm ready to be shown, I'm ready to see, know, hear, be guided, be led, please know it might not be as cutesy as it seems on Instagram. It might be hard and dark and snotty crying and feeling broken and not wanting to eat and all kinds of dark shit. And as you get about yourself, and then as you get expanded vision of what's going on in the world, it's dark shit as well. So I just want to lay that out, not to be a bad news bear, but just to manage expectations about what the spiritual journey can and likely will, if you're about it, look like for you. Okay, but back to you, Toni.
No, yeah, I know. I have noticed that. I mean, even my family, you know, when I used to be married years ago. I was married super young, and I did the decorations, the whole aesthetic, the whole bridal party outfits, like the decorations for my open house, senior open house, graduation open house.
Gotcha.
So doing the decorations for that, you know, different fashion designs. And I used to be a stylist, and I thought I was going to be a fashion designer and so on when I was young.
You feel very stylish. You're wearing a hat right now.
Thank
you.
I mean, thank you. And my family and people who've known me close, who've known me for decades, they were just like, Toni, you've always been this way. You do something, and then it's like the trend next year. My mom was like, when you made those purchases in college, literally it was in every like teen magazine and Vogue magazine, like 6 months later. Like, so, you know, I don't vocalize it to everybody else, but the people who are close to me know that this is what I've always been done. I've always been a trendsetter or a trailblazer, really, you know?
Yeah.
And so I've accepted that now, like, oh, this is what I do. You know, this is part of my path, is always to take that step of being a trailblazer. But you know what? Aries are known for that, though. You know, the first zodiac of the zodiac family, we're like the first sign of trailblazing. So yeah.
You don't feel like a labels type of person, but
no.
do you accept terms like that you're a seer or that you're intuitive, those type of terms? Do those resonate with you? Because you feel super psychic, and I'm just wondering how much you play with it.
Yeah, I'm not into labels at all. But
feel like it.
when I hear those labels and the terminology and the explanations, they do resonate with me. And being intuitive, I would say that I've indulged in that gift intentionally more than last year than I ever have in my entire life.
Yeah,
but I've always
been doing it unintentionally, pulling those timelines in.
Oh yeah, like I realized that I have an emotional, intuitive gift. Like I can feel things that people may not feel about themselves, or may not want me to know that they feel about themselves. And so, you know, that's gotten me in trouble many a times.
You're too honest about it.
It's like I'm too honest about it, or I want to control this. I want to control the situations to help people rush their evolution. Like, you know, so it's just like, it's not my job or my role to to, to project my intuition onto someone else. It's like they have to invite me. And so I'll say for the past year that I've been learning how to be more mature with my intuition, and just kind of release the control and let people have their fuck ups, excuse my language, but let them have their duality. Let them have their duality. They're like, they didn't ask me to show them, but the thing about it is the closer you get to me, it's bound to happen, so I've accepted, people keeping boundaries around me, because it's like, the only way you fuck with me is if you're in love with growth. That's the only way. That's the only way. The only way you fuck with me is if you love yourself, like you're interested in your expansion. You have to at least be interested, because if you don't love growth, if you're not interested in your expansion, you will find a story to say, this is why I don't fuck with her. And I'm not saying everybody should mess with me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I've noticed that is a trait of people who are consistently, close to me or want to, bond or connect. Is like they actually mess with growth and they mess with self-love heavy.
Yeah, I love hearing a woman speak about herself and her power in such a, this is what it is kind of way. Because I feel like a lot of people feel like, let's small it up and not seem as powerful as we really are.
But I mean, sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have those type of insecurities too. Like real talk, like I have to let your audience know, even though that this is my state, this is my highest state, because I know how to tap into my highest timeline. I still have old timelines that are triggered. I still have these old ways of like, to manage the connection, I have to lower my power. Like that comes up for me. I have to, in order for me to maintain the connection and the normacy, like it's times where I feel like, oh, I can't hold this boundary. This boundary will crush them. They will create a, you know what I'm saying? Yes, and it's usually with the people who are closest to you.
You love the most. Yes.
We love the most. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I can throw a hard boundary with John or Jane, but like the people that you don't want to hold boundaries with, you just want to be boundless with, it's the challenge. So I just want to kind of like highlight that, even though I'm exuding this confidence and talking like, I know my power, like, yeah, catch me on the right day and you'll be like, what happened to Toni?
What's going on with her?
What's going on with her? Like, nah, it's definitely something I've accepted. I have that duality. We have to understand that we are handling and caring and managing and accepting that we have decades of a conditioning that we have to hold and care for. Even though our enlightenment and our awareness has expanded to where we're aware of our higher self, our truer selves, our more divine self, the reality is we have a conditioning that has gotten a lot more intention, a lot more energy, a lot more practice, and, and time in the gym to be strong. You know what I'm saying? So the old timeline has some muscle to it. So just because you become aware and enlightened and you're in this new gym of your divinity, it does not mean that this old self that has had years and years of working out in the gym is not going to pop up. That's why it's so important to be involved, invested, and interested in your practice. If not daily, consistently, because the only way your divinity is going to rule and reign in your life is if you feed it.
I was thinking as you were talking about the two gyms, those two wolves, and which one's gonna, that old Native American quote, and it's just like
the proverb, yeah. We all have a good wolf and a bad wolf. The one that wins is the one that gets, the fed, the most, and there is balance, but it's like at the end of the day, I feel like when you feed your divine self can hold the right space for that other side, so that other side doesn't pop up in seasons where it's not supposed to be taking the wheel, So
yes, I'm with you. And you mentioned something that I feel is a beautiful segue to your practices. If not daily, then consistent. I love that because it gives people grace to not feel like I must be perfect every morning.
For sure.
But what are your practices, consistent practices that feed your goodwill?
My consistent practice is, okay, I'm gonna tell you my ideal consistent practice, and I'm gonna tell you my consistent practice.
Okay.
My ideal consistent practice, daily practice, is journaling, drinking my hot cup of tea, going for a walk, doing some yoga, meditating, doing my affirmations. It's just caring for myself, a little facial, that will be my ideal daily practice. But my realistic daily practice is asking myself every morning, how do I feel? How do I want to feel?
Yes.
And what actions support me feeling that way today? And I deep breathe, when I find myself getting caught up in stories or just stuff, I just,
yes.
It's like, don't underestimate the deep breathing.
Powerful.
So that's my daily, like that's something that I do daily. But the one that I consistently do is stretching my body, is important for me as well. I do altar work.
Yes.
It's so important.
Yes.
It's so important for me. I think I've connected to my femininity more. I've been able to bring grievances to the altar in ways that have really helped me create space for what is,
because you rituals do you practice, if you feel comfortable sharing?
Some of my altar rituals, a candlelight, I write things down, I burn things. Intentions. What's another thing? I use sage, charcoal, herbs, woods, basil leaves.
You're a whole witch. I love it.
I do worship dancing, like something that's new for me.
Really? How'd you get into that?
You know what? It naturally happened. It's something about like being on the floor with candles and flowers. It just feels romantic, sexy, and sensual. It doesn't make it doesn't make spirituality feel performative. It makes it feel ceremonial. Like I'm about to be intimate with what's going on inside me.
Yes.
Because we abandon our spirit so much. It's so normalized.
We're forced to. And we get into the habit of it.
And we don't talk enough about what spiritual malnourishment looks like practically. Like when I know that
malnourishment.
I know when I'm spiritually malnourished, meaning that I'm not getting my daily spiritual intake. Meaning I start to, it's all type, it shows up in all type of ways. It's consistent. It could be like car accidents. It could be just consistent stuff that just, it's like energy leaks.
Even just your energy, just like irritability, getting the wrong different little things.
Yeah, like wrong, like, yes, I know that's what happens for me. And when I read about it, what spiritual malnourishment looks like, I'm like, yeah, like when I'm not eating right, like I'm not eating clean, like I notice like little cloudiness comes up. There's not clarity. Like, so spiritual malnourishment is a real thing. So for me, altar work helps me take those grievances of like, man, I gotta let this go. I gotta let that go. And it's okay. But let me create space for myself to create the new. So, but that's one of my heavy consistent practices. It may not be daily, but it's definitely a consistent thing of mine. Other rituals, meditation. And meditation, the funny thing about meditation became something that was like a highlight reel of a practice, right? Like I did this, I'm learning how to meditate. I used to have a meditation app and everything, but then I came across one of my elders named Swami. And it was the first time, well, I won't say the first time, but it was definitely a new way of meditating. And that I knew then that this was not going to be just a practice. This was about to be a lifestyle, And so when I drop into meditation now, it's so much deeper, it's quicker, it's not a whole bunch of noise. You know,
Yes.
I don't need music to go there, you know. So yeah, meditation is another ritual that I bring to the altar as well.
I love that. I love all of the practices. And if you guys are taking notes, please know that you don't have to do all the things. You have to do what resonates, and those things can change bit by bit. And just like Toni found her key for meditation, you'll find yours as well. I talk about meditation a lot here and then with clients, and there's always the same stuff about the noise and can't calm my brain, but there's so many different ways to get to it. So just know that you'll find yours or not. Or something else will be your meditation. Maybe it'll be journaling, or something else will be your thing.
And let me lighten it up. Let me lighten it up a little bit. I mean, it's times where I light my candles, I light my altar, and I'll turn Netflix on. Okay. And literally, like, or I'll grab I have these paint brushes and coloring utensils, and I'll just draw. Like, I have this book where I draw energy pets. It's just something I made up in my mind. I'm like, if we had energy pets, what would they look like? And I just draw them out, right?
I love it.
And so, like, things that are playful, light, that feel good, that just help you tap into that chi that you had in childhood. That was just you did it because it felt good and it was fun. So if you don't want to be on the deep end, keep it light, keep it fun. But essentially, you just want it to feel good. You don't want to be performative when it comes to caring for your spirit. I want you all to be mindful of that, to keep it fun and feel good. You know, sometimes we get caught up in the performativeness of spirituality and self-care and the performative of healing, and it just becomes a task. It becomes a job, another thing we have to do to be better people or better humans. And it's like, it's not that. It's, you got to do it because it feels good. It does something for you, you know?
And I love to talk about how it's not going to look like everyone else's. And there's no one look of what being spiritual looks like, with the dreads and, hemp clothing and saying grand rising instead of good morning. Like, it doesn't have to be all that. I try to, I tell people it can look lots of different ways. You can be spiritual in Tim's and jeans and a do-rag and be just as spiritual. So I want you to release anything for everyone listening who feels I got to be a certain way. Just release that. Release any labeling and boxes that you feel spirituality might be in, and you'll feel so much freer and lighter and just choose what feels good. I love it. I love it. So you did mention in the beginning of talking about your practices, you mentioned listening to your affirmations. Now, when I'm getting ready in the morning, I listen to you to raise my vibe. So who do you listen to? What do you listen to raise your vibe?
Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks. That's my godmother right there. That's my godmother right there. I also listen to Neville Goddard very much because I've been really, I don't talk about it a lot, but I've really been subscribing to the laws of suggestion and the laws of assumption. And it's really challenging. I'm not gonna lie, this is hard work. The laws of assumption and laws of suggestion is hard work because it's challenging all you know.
Yes, and your thought patterns. And
your thought patterns. It's basically saying that I am willing to get rid of all that I know about me and all my beliefs. And I want to tap into the zero state of being a God and saying, this is what it will be. So Neville Goddard, Abraham Hicks. I'm into Teal Swan as well.
I'm not familiar with her, but I'm going to write her name down.
No, she's not popular, but she's an underground popular woman. And I don't share her with everybody but I know that you could rock with Teal Swan. Teal Swan is not for everybody at all. I've been listening to her for, let's say, 4 years now. Yeah. Teal Swan is for people who are truly have an appetite for supernatural, tapping into their supernatural potential. It's not just, I want to know about it and I want to heal. It's like, no, I want to know what it looks like and feels like, and to activate my supernatural potential. So I like Teal Swan. So that's who I listen to. Teal Swan, Abraham Hicks. I love, oh my goodness, Reverend Williams. What is his, Michael Beckwith.
Beckwith, yes.
Michael Beckwith and Lisa Nichols. these are the people that I listen to for sure.
Awesome. Fantastic. You guys, I hope you wrote those down, and let's dig into Teal Swan together, y'all. If you like Neville Goddard, you will love, I forget her name, but she wrote The Game of Life and How to Play It and a few other things. She came before Neville, and low key, I'm just making this up. I don't know if this is true. I think he
What's
took
her
a lot of
name?
stuff from her. I forget her name right now.
The Game of Life and How to Play
and How to Play It. She also,
okay, for sure.
She also wrote Your Word is Your Wand. Florence Scoville Shin.
Okay, Florence
Scoville Shin. She came before Neville, and she came before him. And after her work started is when his developed. So I think he took some stuff from her because she was a woman. And you know, back then, anyway, but that's just me. I'm just making fake gossip about the past. I don't know if that's real.
Well, I mean, history shows that women have always been the initiation for men into their higher self. So that is historically like known that men don't enter that portal unless they're in a cave somewhere on a sabbatical being a monk. Like if you're not doing that, you need a woman to be initiated into those type of enlightenments. So more than likely it was a woman that probably was Florence, who knows, but yeah.
But that's, so I'm glad. I'm going to check out Teal. You check out Florence. We'll regroup later and talk about it.
Okay, for sure.
All right. Okay. So let's talk. I know I just mentioned that I listen to you in the mornings. I love it. And shout out to Tommy Billingsley, who put me on to Toni and made me fall in love with her music. So let's talk about this. You told us about your journey from what you used to be doing in the life coaching space and how you went into the music industry, and you coined the affirmation music term and this niche where you're putting it with the dope music instead of that like meditation wah 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 music all the time that we hear. So you made this niche, you created this basically. And then all these others started popping up because you pulled that paradigm in for us. Thank you. You have the I See Me mantras, the affirmations for grown-ass women. You have 5, yes?
The Get Your Mind Right, the Mental Health Mixtape, Affirmations and Chill, and then the recently released one in November, Me Versus Ever Me, Affirmations of Self-Love.
Okay, what's next?
Really, what's next is speaking and performing. I want to give people experiences that it's like they just can't believe this is happening. Like, that's what I want them. I want them to, like, I have a mood pack that I'm selling right now that complements the album. So basically it's a lifestyle mood pack to where you can it's a listening guide. There's an affirmation lyric book. So there's songs like Work Ethic, Energy Budget, the lyrics that's in this book. It's sage spray where you sage your space. There's essential oil roller ball. There's a AM PM incense custom. Everything is custom.
You guys, the link for this is in the show notes. Don't go running away from this podcast. The link is in the show notes. Don't worry.
We have these amazing shirts that say self-love is us love, which is perpetuating and promoting and advocating this message that the whole reason why, we promote self-love and do self-love is not to go off into an island by ourselves, but to give ourselves more opportunity to experience others and relationships and community in healthier ways. Self-love is literally the only portal to access that, So, whether it's a product, whether it's a event, whether it's virtual or in person, or I'm performing or I'm speaking, because I have a lot of dates where I'm speaking this year and performing and guiding affirmation meditations. I do that as well for events and parties and things like that. No matter what it is, I want people to feel like, what is this? Like, I want them to feel something. Yes.
Your sound healing, Toni.
Yes. I want everything. I want everything to make them feel themselves, feel that good thing. Like, that's like, man, I feel seen and connected and heard and I matter. Like, and I want that to be infused into everything that I do and create. So for sure, products and items and creations that complement the affirmation conscious lifestyle, like incense, the things that, what we wear, the messages that we wear and clothing, and then just events and experiences like sound healing and, speaking to just, promote that message of talking to yourself better, having healthier, holier self-talk.
You are going to transform a lot of lives, and your future is a hell of a lot bigger than what you just described. You gave us this little tiny portion of what's to come for Toni. And even as you're saying it, as you're saying it, I feel the like vastness of what's truly on the way for you. So I'm very excited to see what actually comes, despite this little juicy portion that you gave us.
Yeah, this juicy little portion. I mean,
give us a morsel.
I think miracles.
Yes.
Miracles.
Very expansive.
Are very expansive miracles, like eye-opening, jaw-dropping miracles that I believe that I am being prepared for, to be, to channel that energy through the people who are ready. So I definitely feel that preparation for sure.
Good.
It's something I've wanted since I was a child. I didn't mention this in the interview, but I've said it in other interviews. Like growing up in the church, it was like I never wanted to be a Christian. Like I wasn't trying to be a Christian that dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's. I was reading about this guy as a young girl, this man named Jesus that was walking on water and turning water into wine, raising people from the dead, healing the sick, casting out tormenting spirits and energies out of people. I was like, I want to do that. Sign me up for that. Because this whole I was just like, this whole getting A's in school, having a great credit score, and like that stuff was boring to me. I was like, I mean, it's like, I know it's practical and part of this reality, but I was so disenchanted with this system. I was like, if this is real, why aren't we learning how to do this? So I've always had that appetite, but I never had spaces to have those conversations. So I just found out ways to make myself more palatable, make myself more normal, because I did not hear women talking about how to perform miracles and how to tap into their supernatural potential. I didn't hear that and I didn't see it. Yeah. So I was just like, maybe that's just weird that I feel and think this way, And so now I look back and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
So
you are doing this. Literally, that's what you're doing now. You're creating miracles for other people. You are unlocking shit for everyone who hears you and for whom it resonates. You are unlocking and
it's miraculous.
Yes.
It's miraculous.
And you're helping us, a certain subset of us, get to like reach that critical mass where we'll tip the balance, where it's more of us who are on that awakened path than not. You're doing big work. So
thank you.
Next time somebody asks you what's next for you, I want you to be like, miracles and big shit. Don't give them, I'm going to speak at events and like, that.
You're so right. You're absolutely right. That would definitely be my answer moving forward.
All right. Well, this was amazing. Is there any one message you want to leave with this audience, or have you poured out?
I would just say, have fun. Don't take anything seriously. Don't take me too seriously. Have fun. Play a lot. Find out what brings you joy and what feels good to you, and keep doing more of that. Let that be your guiding light. Like, that's what I encourage and want to leave to you all with. I
love that. You guys, a million links are in the show notes for this episode. Some are for Toni's music. Some are for that pack that she mentioned. Just go check out all the links, buy all the things, listen to all the things, okay? And I will see you guys in a week. Toni, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate
you a million times, 1,000,000%. You guys, I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening.
Peace.